Would you be the jerk for refusing to pay when you lost a bet? Or, on the other hand, is it possible to not be the jerk when refusing to pay up for a lost bet? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for losing my crap over cookies when my daughter-in-law tossed them out? I'm a good baker. I enjoy making sweet treats for everyone to enjoy. My daughter-in-law, Emily, is very health conscious, and even more so now that they have 2 kids. She is the type of person who avoids sugars, mostly eats organic, and avoids processed foods. When the grandkids visit, I usually made cookies or something sweet for them to enjoy. Every single time she sees them, she usually goes on about how they're unhealthy. We got into an argument about this a few months ago about not giving the kids junk. I pointed out everything is homemade and I'm not only serving them cookies. My son stepped in on this and compromised that the kids can have 1 cookie when they're here. This was good for a while until yesterday. The kids came over last night and I made a batch of cookies. They were cooling on the rack. Emily and my son decided to chat a bit before heading out. During that time, Emily went into the kitchen and threw away the cookies. When I asked her why she did it, she claimed it was doing me a favor since they're unhealthy. I yelled at her, saying that she had no right to throw away food that I had worked hard to make. She got defensive and said that she was just trying to help. My son stepped in and told me to calm down, but I was furious. Emily left the room in tears, and now my son is saying I overreacted and should apologize. I told my son that I will not be babysitting until he handles this situation, and I will not apologize. So, hearing this story, I'm actually extremely disappointed that the son acted the way they did. They couldn't even objectively see the situation for what it is, and even just in a sidebar tell their parent, listen, I know you're actually in the right here. I'm gonna try to get through to her on this or whatnot and try to work on this. No, they just went straight for the OP, you shouldn't be acting like that. Nobody cries over thrown out cookies, bro. I'm not gonna lie, if I had fresh made cookies that just got immediately thrown out, I maybe would cry. I think OP's clearly not the jerk. Agnar Krakenhammer commented, not the jerk. Emily is rude as heck. The occasional cookie or 2 won't kill the kids. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for pressing charges even though my parents offered to pay back the money my sister stole within 24 hours? My 24-year-old female, sister, 26-year-old female, called me and asked me if she could stay the week as she missed me and we're both free. I said yes because I did miss her. We're both college students. She's in her final year and I'm in my second year. We live in different states. My sister came down and slept on my couch as I have a 1-bedroom apartment. Monday and Tuesday was great. We went out together, did some shopping, and had some sisterly time. Wednesday came and I had to go to work. I asked her if she's alright staying in the apartment by herself and she said yes. Whilst on my lunch break, I was searching for my credit card. My backpack has a specific section that's hidden away where I put my valuables in, such as my cell phone, wallet, and keys, etc. I searched and my wallet wasn't there. I texted my sister and asked if she had seen my wallet. She replied no and said she would look for it. I have Apple Pay, so I could still purchase some lunch. I got home, she said she found it on top of my sock drawer. I was suspicious as I went in there yesterday morning and knew it wasn't in there. When I got home, I logged into online banking and saw a total of $1,545.32 had been withdrawn across 2 accounts. I had strong suspicions that it was my sister, and I told her I'm calling the police as someone's withdrawn money from my accounts. It didn't take long for her to confess that she took my wallet and used the money. My sister is a golden child who's never in trouble. I was sick and tired of her getting away with everything. Not only that, it's money that I can't afford to lose. I told her I'm calling the police and I want to press charges. My sister kept crying, screaming, and begging to not call the police as she would have my money in 24 hours' time. As I was speaking to the dispatcher on the phone, my sister was trying to grab the phone from my hand. After she failed, she ran to the room, called our parents, and whilst on the phone to 911, my parents were constantly trying to call me. As soon as I hanged up, within 1 second they called back. The dispatcher said they were sending a police officer out to my address. As I hung up and waited for the dispatcher to arrive, I saw 30 missed calls from my parents. I turned my phone off till the officer got here as they kept calling. The officer arrived and detained my sister. They took down my statement and I showed them my evidence. They said because she stole $1,500, it's a felony and they will be charging her. I called my parents after to explain the situation. They shouted at me down the phone telling me I shouldn't have called the police as they would have paid it back within an hour and that I've ruined her life. Am I the jerk? Could OP have been so kind as to somehow overlook this and let them pay it back within an hour? Sure, but let's be real, is that truly fair to either OP or to OP's parents? Not really. Maybe she shouldn't have gone and committed a felony. Come on, I know your sister stole over $1,500 from you, but come on, work with us here. Comfortable C2454 commented, "Not the jerk." They quoted, "My sister is a golden child who's never in trouble. I was sick and tired of her getting away with everything. Not only that, it's money I can't afford to lose. I told her I'm calling the police and I want to press charges. My sister kept crying, screaming and begging to not call the police as she would have my money in 24 hours time." They said, "It is high time that your sister learns that actions have consequences." They quote, "I called my parents after to explain the situation. They shouted at me down the phone telling me I shouldn't have called the police as they would have paid it back within an hour and that I've ruined her life. They said, 'No, your sister ruined her own life and your parents were complicit by never letting her face the consequences of her actions.' In other words, she freaked around and got found out. Hope you get your money back, OP. Good luck." Our next story is, am I the jerk for what I said when my parents announced they were having another baby? My parents have 7 kids. There's me, 16-year-old male, Kayla, 13-year-old female, Robin, 12-year-old male, Sam, 10-year-old male, Lacey, 8-year-old female, Zoe, 6-year-old female, and Robbie, 4-year-old male. They only ever intended to have 2 kids, and even with me and Kayla alone, they would still struggle. My parents don't have great jobs. We never had much space in our house to begin with, and now we're all crammed in. I started working at 13 to get money so I could pay for stuff I needed, like a laptop, which I didn't have access to when my school first shut down. We didn't even have internet then. My parents swore they were done with Robbie and they would get us back on track and that I wouldn't need to work just to pay for stuff I needed for school. The weight of being the oldest is already a lot, and I have paid for stuff before. I babysit so my parents can work nights or get a break. I take care of the house most days so they can focus on earning money. But it's a lot, and we're really too big of a family for what we can actually afford. My parents get help from the government, but it doesn't go far because they're not good with money or with buying groceries. When no baby came right after Robbie, I thought they were serious, and I started to think about my future. I'd love to learn to cook better and work in a restaurant. Not college exactly, because we could never afford it, and my grades aren't good enough, but something. Then Monday, my parents sat us down and told us they're having another baby, and mom is like 14 weeks pregnant. They knew for 7 weeks and didn't want to tell us until they were ready. My siblings were mostly surprised, but me? I said not again. I think I even cried a little, which caught me off guard because I'm not a crier usually. This was apparently enough to break me though. My parents got so angry at me and told me to check my attitude. I told them they gave me this attitude by being so reckless and putting so much on me, and now they've broken their promise and we're going to struggle even more than before. They told me to stop acting like they're doing something to me, that accidents happen and they would never report, even if they could. They told me to focus on making things okay and less on being so negative. I know people say that having money isn't as important as long as you have a loving family, and maybe that's true for some people, but mine feel like a weight I have to carry and not something I'm blessed with. They're a responsibility on me, a burden really, and maybe that's awful to say, but it's how I really feel. I hate worrying about what'll happen if they can't afford the bills, or if my laptop breaks and I can't afford to fix it or get a new one. Or what if we can't afford food, or we can, but I have to pay for groceries instead of save? Am I the jerk? This just flat out sucks for OP. Realistically, it's a situation where they can't really do much about it. I mean, they can make their feelings known. They can say, oh, I'm not gonna help with this baby. They can say, I don't wanna have to help out financially, but like really, what can OP do? That said, OP's clearly not the jerk, especially considering they made a promise and they broke that promise. You know what's a lot cheaper than having 8 kids? Condoms. OK Hovercraft 4450 commented, "Not the jerk. This is a no-win situation. You do not have to ever babysit your siblings. That is not your responsibility, but then if you didn't watch the kids, there would be less money to feed the kids. Essentially, there are 3 parents in this household and 2 of them are acting very irresponsible, which is increasing the workload of parent number 3. You should consider enlisting in the Air Force or the Navy when you're old enough. Even a good line cook won't allow you an income to leave home. So that's a trap where you'll still live at home and be pressured to watch the kiddos. study hard for the ASVAB, get a high score so you can get good training for a skilled job, then enlist for 4 or 6 years, whatever the minimum is, get out and go into government contracting. There's good money there, and it's fairly safe in terms of job security. OP responded saying, "The military is not for me. I get that people think it's great, but that would not be a good option for me. Honestly, even without money, I won't be staying once I'm old enough to leave. I'd rather be homeless and couch surf and figure something else out." This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my deadbeat father's wife that I'm not responsible for my older brother? My brother, 20-year-old male, and I, 18-year-old female, share the same deadbeat father. He left our mom while she was pregnant with me. They were both 24 by that point, having my brother when they were 22, and so still young, but not like 18 or 19 young, you know? But I know that excuse has always been made for him, that he was young and dumb, etc. We didn't ever know him or want to know him. Our mom died when we were still young, 7 and 9, so our aunt and uncle, mom's sister and her husband finished raising us, all without any help from our father. He evaded child support for 18 years because we had no idea where he was. Our father actually left the country and moved back 5 months ago with his wife. We found out because she contacted us on social media. We ignored her the first time, then she reached out again. The first time she was like, "Hi, I'm married to your dad, we just moved here, we're expecting a child together, and we want you to know your new brother." The second time it touched on the move and the expecting a baby together thing, but also went into how important family is, and how we might be mad at our father, but we have an innocent sibling who would love to grow up with his older brother and sister in his life. There was such a deep attempt to shame us into responding. All the mentions of her child being innocent, using the word brother and not even half, talking about generational mistakes, etc. We again didn't respond, and she tried to send us individual messages after that, which angered my brother. He met her once, and he told her he hoped our father had left her son the way he left us, and then she would understand why she was such a freaking bench trying to shame us or claim we had any obligation to her kid, that he hoped she knew her kid was nothing to him and would never be his real sibling, and he didn't give a flying freak if it hurt her kid's feeling or not because we're not family. He also brought up the fact that our father owed tens of thousands in child support, and he hoped they wouldn't need that money because if she made contact one more time, he would chase after it, and he didn't care if it made them homeless or not. My brother told me he'd met her but didn't give details about how it went, and I didn't ask. Then suddenly she shows up at my aunt and uncle's house and she wanted to talk or whatever, but she basically tried putting what my brother said on me and also tried to add more shame for not showing an interest in her son. She was also looking for me to berate my brother for what he said to her. I told her I wasn't going to turn against my brother in favor of her or her child. I also told her I'm not responsible for my brother and I refuse to take any because she wants me to. Then I closed the door in her face. I didn't let her inside even though she's heavily pregnant now. She created another social media account and told me how rude I was to her. That she just wanted me to say I didn't agree with all the disgusting things my brother said to her. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk here, and honestly, I would think OP could even start considering maybe not immediately going for it, but threatening that, hey, if you keep this up, I can literally start some kind of harassment thing. And considering the fact that she will not seemingly let up, I'd say, hey, you know where he is, maybe try to even just go ahead and try to chase that money. I mean, she's ridiculously pushy and he kinda does owe it to you. Truvina Ice commented, not the jerk, and you should definitely do what your brother suggested. She broke many boundaries. Now get a lawyer and get after the child support your father owes you, as well as getting a restraining order so his wife can't contact you. Do not talk to her, do not let her shame you into something that you don't want. Info, how did she get your information? Has your sperm donor contacted you or just his pregnant wife? OP responded saying, just his wife. I'm also not totally sure. She found us on social media and at first that's all it was, but then when she showed up to my aunt and uncle's house, I have no idea how she knew where it was. My brother doesn't know either. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my mother she's not a first-time mom now that she had a new baby? I, 24-year-old male, have a good relationship with my mother, 40-year-old female, even though, as you can tell from our age, she had me when she was very young and obviously lacked the maturity to raise me, so I lived with my grandparents, who were then below the poverty line for most of my childhood, while my mother moved away to get her college education. I don't blame her for her choices. I know she worked hard to improve herself and to get to a place where she would have the means to raise me right. but it wasn't until I was 11 or 12 that she was stable enough to get me to live with her. Bio dad was never in the picture. Anyway, now, my mother is financially comfortable and happily married. She gave birth to her second son a couple of weeks ago. I don't live with her anymore, we're not in the same city, it's a 2-hour drive, so it wasn't until yesterday that I managed to visit her and see my half-brother for the first time. I noticed she was surrounded by a lot of fancy accessories, so I was like, what are those? And she was like, that's the baby's Lexus stroller and Louis Vuitton diaper bag, of course. So I said something like, you really went overboard, huh? And then she said something that really hurt me. She said she now had the chance to experience motherhood for the first time, and that she was feeling like a first-time mom because, when she had me, she was so young and unprepared and financially vulnerable. So I told her she was not a first-time mom, and I couldn't understand why she would say something like that to me. She tried to argue that she didn't mean it like that, but I was still upset. I just didn't push it because my stepfather arrived. She texted me after I left, but I didn't reply yet. I also didn't pick up when she tried to call me. Am I the jerk for holding on to this? I kind of get where both sides are coming off with. I think OP's feelings are very genuine and very valid, and that alone, I don't think they're the jerk for that. I honestly kind of get where she's coming from, but obviously I think she handled the whole situation pretty badly, and especially framing it as a first-time mom thing just almost was never probably going to sit right with somebody like OP. I mean, it just gives off an incredible vibe of, oh, well, now I actually care, kind of. I would just certainly hope that she was being truthful when she said, I didn't mean it like that. But she doesn't really seem too apologetic about it either, which really kind of sucks. Realistic Active 7230 wrote, not the jerk, and this is a very tricky situation, and I understand why you're upset. I'm sorry that you didn't get the same response when you were born, as your mom was so young. It's an insensitive thing to say to you, and I hope your mother can try to understand why you're upset. Our next story is, am I the jerk for taking my clothes off at the Cheesecake Factory? So me, 23-year-old female, and my boyfriend, 24-year-old male, were celebrating our 1-year anniversary and went out to dinner to celebrate. My boyfriend planned it as he knows how much I love the Cheesecake Factory. I really love their cheesecake. This becomes important later. Well, everything was going fine and we were having a good time until an elderly man at the next table scooted his chair out just as our server was approaching, causing him to stumble and spill hot coffee on me, down my back. It was obviously burning and startled me, so I instinctively screamed and pulled my shirt up. I'm pretty small-chested, so I don't typically wear a bra, and obviously I wasn't thinking about that when something hot was running down my back burning me, so I basically flashed all those at the tables around us. Yes, I was embarrassed, but at the same time, it's just boobs. I pulled my shirt back down right after realizing what happened, but it was up for about 15 seconds. The server apologized over and over, but it wasn't their fault, it was all just an accident. Well, anyway, after this, my boyfriend wanted to leave, like immediately leave. He said that I was being overdramatic for the way I reacted in the situation, and maybe I was, but it did startle me really bad and it did burn. He told me I had put on a show for everyone in the restaurant, especially since I screamed when it happened, and that we need to leave. I told him it's not that big a deal and I really want to stay to get cheesecake because it's my favorite. I eventually even offered to try to get some to go, and he was dead set that we need to leave and didn't understand why I wasn't mortified. We ended up staying, but for the rest of the date, he kept saying that men at tables near us were staring at me and probably thinking about me inappropriately, but I said it wasn't my problem if they're being gross. When we got in the car, he told me I ruined our anniversary for making him sit through that, and we should have just left, and that he can't believe I would choose a piece of cheesecake over his comfortability. We argued in the car the whole way home about it, and now we haven't spoken at all today. Am I the jerk? I would hope most of us can agree that OP is not the jerk here. When you're in a situation where you have something extremely hot, or alternatively something extremely cold poured or sprayed or dropped on you, is it not an extremely natural reaction to try to remove the thing that is holding and clinging that temperature spreading thing to you off of you? If a waiter came by and accidentally poured hot soup onto his pants, would it make him the jerk for dropping trowel right then and there to get it off? I doubt he would think so, but maybe it would be different because he's a guy and people aren't going to be too interested in him or something. Ultimately, it comes down to his discomfort and inability to get over the fact that other people saw her in that moment of discomfort. Is it fair to trash the whole night and go straight home because of that discomfort? Does it make somebody the jerk for insisting they get over that and fight through it? I don't think it makes OP the jerk. Sailor Moon Knight commented, "Not the jerk. Whipping off the affected clothes is honestly what you're supposed to do when you get hot liquid on you. You want to get that crap away from your skin ASAP. A few seconds can absolutely make the difference between a first and second or second and third degree burn. Nobody tried to call the cops on you for indecent exposure, so clearly everybody else understood that taking your shirt off wasn't inappropriate in context. And frankly, after getting hot coffee spilled on you, you deserved some dang cheesecake. You earned that cheesecake." Nikkian42 commented, "I spilled hot tea on my lap at work a few years ago and couldn't strip for several minutes until I could get to the bathroom. Even though the temperature wasn't close to boiling, the delay resulted in a burn that was close to being a second-degree burn. Stripping off a top is absolutely necessary in a situation like this." Edit to add, "By way of comparison, I burned my chin when I accidentally dipped it into a cup of hot tea. The tea was hotter then and the burn was less serious. It was also shaped like a heart." Our next story is, "Am I the jerk for naming my son the name I'd always planned even after my brother and sister-in-law stole the name? My brother and his wife has as much right to name their child whatever they want. I do not own my name. I have no right to dictate to my brother what he names his kid. With that in mind, my husband has a traditional family name that I love. Basically, since he and I were dating and started discussing our future, we agreed that our son would have that name, Oisin. My husband is Irish, not in the Boston, my great-great-great-grandfather came over in the 1800s kind of way, in the born in Galway kind of way. Neither my family or my sister-in-law have any other connection to Ireland. She got pregnant right around when I did, and her son was born 2 months before ours. They named my nephew Oisin Miguel. I didn't get upset or anything. When my son was born, we named him Oisin Daniel, like I had told her we would be doing. She has flipped out that 2 cousins will have the same name. She is nuts because our family is Hispanic, and half of our cousins are named Carlos or Camila. She is trying to insist that we call him by his middle name or change his name. I told her to pee off. My mom is staying neutral, but she was very surprised that my brother gave his son an Irish name he knew I was planning on using. She expected him to name him for our late father. Anyways, my husband's family thinks the whole thing is hilarious, my family thinks my sister-in-law is a weirdo, and she thinks I'm a jerk for copying her. Whatever. I'm posting here and sending her the link so she can see outside opinions. I don't think OP's the jerk here, especially because they made their intentions known. It's almost kind of like those game show scenarios where it's one of those situations where there's 5 people in a room. If one person says yes, they'll walk away with their own specific cash prize. Everybody else will still be going for the grand prize. If multiple people say yes, they're both going home no matter what. And if nobody says yes, nobody just gets this special cash prize and everybody stays competing. It's like that person who in the game would say, "I am saying yes, no matter what, I am taking this money." And then somebody else stepping in and gambling that they'll say no for some reason. Surprise, you're both going home. Special Respond 7372 commented, "Not the jerk. She freaked around and found out by using the name you wanted, expecting you to have to change yours. I love that you didn't let it faze you and named your child as intended. She'll continue to flip out, and you can just continue to repeat, 'You knew what we were going to name our child. You chose to use the same name, so you knew this in advance. Your decision is not my problem.'" This next story is, "Am I the jerk for not paying when I lost a bet? My girlfriend and I have been living together for about a year, and one of our main arguments is around my boxer mix, Max. She thinks she's a dog whisperer because her dog Jupiter is basically the perfect pet and that I'm a lousy dog owner. I think it's because she has a border collie that just trained themselves. She hasn't developed any of the normal routines that dog owners do, like put their shoes out of reach or never leave food unintended, and she gets angry every time she pays for it. She left a grilled cheese and my dog Max helped himself. She was ticked and told me I was the jerk for not training my dog. I argued no dog is going to turn down a grilled cheese, and after arguing around it, we agreed to see if Jupiter is that impressive by leaving a steak in front of him, leaving and seeing if he sneaks a bit. She said $100 was on the line, and I said sure. and then said it was too low and said $1,000. And I admit I agreed because I didn't think it was possible for me to lose. Well, we cooked steaks and put 2 on plates near Jupiter and left. She reminded Jupiter to leave it, and we left a phone to record in case he licked but didn't eat it. We left for 5 minutes. Jupiter didn't even seem tempted. I was honestly shocked. I didn't think it was possible. I admit I'm kind of impressed. Max would have eaten it immediately, but now I can't afford to pay the $1,000. My girlfriend wants me to pay it to her in increments, $200 a month until I paid it. I'm trying to talk her into lowering the price. I already paid her $100, but she thinks I'm the jerk for agreeing and then backing out. I already admitted she won and I only make $21 an hour. I'm not rich. I think she's getting a bit greedy and smug from winning, but am I the jerk for trying to go back on paying the entire $1,000 after losing our bet? I think OP's pretty clearly the jerk here. Best of luck on OP trying to get out of this one, but if they're not going to let you out of that $1,000, you're gonna always be the jerk for not getting that $1,000 back to them. For most average people, this $1,000 bet on your dog's actions is probably not going to be a reasonable thing to just pay without any issue. I mean, I would actually kind of hope that in most situations, you saying, okay, listen, I'm absolutely sorry, you're right, can I just take you out to a nice dinner or something, wouldn't work maybe in most situations? But I think OP either loses the $1,000 or maybe loses their relationship. That's kind of how it sounds to me. Not Creative at All 16 commented, "You're the jerk. You raised the stakes yourself, dude. You can't cry to her now saying that it's too much after you yourself said that $100 wasn't enough. And yes, you're the jerk also for not training your dog better. I haven't tried to do this with my dog with me out of the room, but if I tell her leave it, she does, even with my back turned. It's possible. Further, you are also the jerk for insinuating that your girlfriend's dog came pre-trained. I guarantee that what you're seeing is after its lots training. True, border collies can be easier to train, but I've also known badly trained ones, as well as ones that were dumb as a doornail. Give her the respect she's earned for putting in the work with her dog." Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling my parents out on their bullcrap? My parents visited me and my new girlfriend. It's their first time meeting her. I don't know what my mom's deal is, but the first night, we had a simple pasta dinner at our place, and my girlfriend ordered garlic bread and dessert from a famous restaurant in our area for the world's best garlic bread. My mom acted like we were incompetent for ordering garlic bread from a restaurant instead of getting it from the store and not plotting it in the oven ourselves. My mom ordered Thanksgiving from Whole Foods once because she didn't want to deal with it. Next, we went to a fancy steakhouse, and my parents acted like ordering the sides separately was too much to comprehend. My dad acted like the mostly fancy steakhouse he had eaten at was Texas Roadhouse. That is a lie. Growing up, we've been to more fancy restaurants, and I recalled this with them. My parents frequently visited one that offered hot towels and palate cleaning between courses. My mom loves wine sampling. That is so bullcrap on their part. I call them out on it at dinner, like, what the freak is wrong with you both? My parents left us sitting there after I confronted them about it. They went back to the hotel. I have no clue why they're acting like this. I told them that, and they're acting like I've changed. My girlfriend is snobby to them, and she hasn't given off that vibe at all. My mom acted like it was over the fancy garlic bread and dessert. The dessert and garlic bread were under $50 for the pasta night, and I don't even understand them. OP's not the jerk here, and I would say it doesn't even matter what the restaurant is. If that's what you want to order or how you want to order it, what the heck is wrong with that? If you want to try to custom order a bowl of water soup from the kitchen tap, you have every right to do that. Well, to be fair, I do think you're actually going to be judged on something like that, but ordering fancy garlic bread or ordering sides by themselves, if you want that dish, you don't deserve to be called snobby or, out of their blue-collar tax bracket? You guys have changed. What next? No dino nuggies? Blue-Eyed Wolf commented, not the jerk at all. Not even a little bit. I'm sorry your parents are acting like jerks towards you and your girlfriend, but if they want to go back to the hotel to pout, let them have their tantrum. You can ask them if they would like to communicate what's wrong when they're done having their hissy fit. I wouldn't invite them over anymore. Nothing wrong at all with getting good garlic bread from a restaurant. I would want the world's best garlic bread more than some store-bought stuff. Good luck, OP. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.